by recording. And before I start, I would like to ask if I'm audible enough. So can you people hear me? Please, can you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's fine. So last week we were looking at definitions. This week we're looking at types of discourses. And we'll begin by asking ourselves, what is a discourse? Sometimes when we write, we put individual sentences together for different purposes. A collection of sentences is called a passage or discourse. Now, the point is that when you put together a set of sentences, you can call it a passage or a discourse. And the issue is to determine what part of a passage is an argument and what part is something else. So for that reason, we'll distinguish passages that are arguments and those that are not. Now, an argument is a discourse that contains a claim or conclusion, which is supported with reasons. And also, an argument contains at least two items. First of all, you have a conclusion, which is also a claim or decision. And then you also need to have expressions that are aimed at providing support for the conclusion. So those are the two components of an argument. Now, for example of an argument, we have three statements here. Statement one, Ghanaian men think women don't deserve to occupy high positions. Statement two, they question the competence and qualification of women who are sent to high office, but refrain from doing same to even incompetent men. And then question three, therefore Ghanaian men do not respect women. Notice that the above passage has three statements. Statements one and two are serving as information, evidence or reasons to support statement three. For attempting to support statement three, these statements are called premises. Now statement three, which is being supported, is called conclusion. Now, how do you identify a passage that is an argument or a part of a passage that is an argument? First, you need to learn how to detect sentences or statements that are conclusions. Now, a conclusion is not supposed to be providing, it's not supposed to be providing information. It's supposed to be making some kind of summations of informations provided elsewhere. If you look at statements one and two, they are providing detailed and specific information about the attitude of Ghanaian men to women. Statement one lets you know that Ghanaian men don't think women deserve to occupy high positions. And then statement two tells you that Ghanaian men have the tendency to, and the habit to, to question why women should be in such positions, but, So, and then on the basis of these two pieces of information, statement three tells you that Ghanaian men do not respect women. So that is how to detect a conclusion and then premises that provide reasons for or information for the conclusion. There are easier ways to detect arguments. You can detect arguments by looking at what we call indicators. Now, there are indicators that point to premises. There are certain words or phrases you see in a sentence, and it suggests to you that you are looking at a premise. Now, this list of words and phrases here are premise indicators. When sentences begin with these kinds of words and phrases, you know that you are looking at a premise. If, for instance, you see a sentence begin with the phrase, it is a fact that, then automatically you know you are looking at a factual statement. And factual statements are normally premises because they provide information about facts. And so those are the kinds of information you use to arrive at conclusions. When you see a sentence that begins with the phrase, the reason is that, the reason is that, it means that such a statement is providing a reason for a claim. That is why a sentence will begin like that. And in such cases, it means that the claim or conclusion came first and then the premises followed it. So when you first of all make a conclusion or claim and then you want to provide reasons for it, then your premise can begin with the phrase, the reason is that, or the reason for this conclusion is that. Then we have conclusion indicators. We have therefore, consequently, hence, asserting that. Now, these words or phrases tell you that you are looking at a conclusion. When we gave an example of an argument, we had used the statement 3 was started with the word therefore. Now, you can replace it with any of those conclusion indicators we saw. So instead of therefore, Ghanaian men do not respect women, we can say hence, Ghanaian men do not respect women, or consequently, Ghanaian men do not respect women. So those kinds of words and phrases would tell you that you are looking at a conclusion. And then the ones for premises will tell you are looking at premises. But it is not all arguments that have premises and conclusion indicators. In fact, these indicators are just for decoration. They don't really serve any useful function in a sentence. So a sentence can afford to be without them. So you need to learn to identify conclusions and premises without any indicators. In fact, if you are taking an examination, the examiner is not going to present you an argument with any indicators because that would be an easy way of telling you it's an argument. So I think the most important way of identifying an argument is, first of all, you check for indicators. If you don't see indicators, then you check which statements look like conclusions, which statements look like premises. Now we go to non-arguments. Not every passage or cluster of propositions is an argument. Some passages are non-arguments, such as narratives, instructional passages, rhetorical polemic, or opinion. So we'll begin with narrative. A narrative is a passage that reports a sequence of events according to the order the events occurred. For example, over the course of 2 weeks, some police officers have been observed stopping and checking cars in the area between Nsawam and Anyinam on the Accra-Kumasi road. They extort money and abuse motorists who question their authority. Brandishing AK-47 assault rifles and dressed in heavy police gear, these officers do not just check cars, they also assault some motorists and passengers. This passage tells you that you are looking at a collection of factual statements. Now, factual statements that show the unfolding of an event or an order of events, That's how you know a narrative. So narratives are the easiest kinds of passages to identify. Then you have instructional passage. Instructional passage is a passage that describes a process or sequence of things to do in a specific order. It offers a list of directives to follow to accomplish some desired effects. Now let's look at an example the example below offers a list of directives on how to use a fire extinguisher. So example, pull the pin, aim the nozzle at the base of the fire. Aiming at the top of the flame with the extinguisher wouldn't be effective. In a controlled manner, squeeze the trigger to release the agent. Sweep the nozzle from side to side until the fire is put out. This passage is a collection of imperatives. So when you see a collection of imperatives that outline the procedure or process for doing something, then that's an instructional passage. Then we have rhetorical polemic. A rhetorical polemic is a passage communicating a usually strong feeling and persuasively venting an opinion. Example, I hate these lab tests. Every time I'm exposed to the disease plants, I fall ill. I'm sure they hate me or they are punishing me or something. It's disgusting how I get sick so often. Now, this passage is a collection of emotive expressions. So statement one, I hate these lab tests. That's an emotive expression. Every time I'm exposed to the disease plants, I fall ill. That's a claim. That's a claim, but it's not an emotive expression. I'm sure they hate me, or that's an emotive expression. It's disgusting how I get sick so often. That's an emotive expression. So you have 4 emotive expressions, and then you have 1 claim. When you are expressing your emotions, it's likely that you need to make at least 1 claim so that people will make sense of what you are complaining about, or what you are venting your feelings about. You can't be venting your feelings about something. At least you have to make a claim so that people will know why you are venting your feelings. So in this passage, the second statement, every time I'm exposed to the disease plants, I fall ill. So it begins to tell you, it begins to give you clues about why the person is feeling this way. So rhetorical polemic is a passage, or is a collection of a passage that contains emotive expressions and probably one or more claims. Now, so there could be a claim in a rhetorical polemic, but it is accompanied by emotive expressions. Now, on the other hand, an argument is a claim that is supported with reasons or information, but a rhetorical polemic is a claim that is surrounded by emotive expressions. So that's the major difference between the two. A brief exercise. Name 4 types of discourses studied in this chapter. What is an argument? List the components of an argument. Distinguish between argument and rhetorical polemic. Now, so does anybody has the time to answer any of these? Otherwise, we could just discuss them and then move on to the next subtopic. Okay, so let me answer them. Name 4 types of discourses. We have argument, rhetorical polemic, instructional passage, and narratives. What is an argument? An argument is a passage that contains a conclusion or claim which is supported with reasons, and then list the components of an argument. You have a conclusion, and then you have premises, or you have reasons for the conclusion. Then distinguish between argument and rhetorical polemic. An argument is normally a claim surrounded by or supported by reasons, and a rhetorical polemic is a collection of emotive expressions that might contain claims. Okay. Now to the second subtopic, verbal and real disagreements. Now, the understanding in critical thinking is that majority of the disagreements in this world are based on confusion about the meaning of words or concepts. So a verbal dispute is a disagreement about the meaning of a word or words. So when an argument arises because one of the participants is not up to date on the meaning of a concept, then it's a verbal disagreement. Now, for example, let's assume that 2 Americans in the US or 2 Russians in Russia are discussing about Africa, and then one of them says, that man is a Fanti, and the other person says, no, he's an Akan. Meanwhile, a Fanti is an Akan. So this kind of argument arises because one of these people doesn't know that a Fanti is an Akan. The second person doesn't know that a Fanti is an Akan. So it means that this argument arises because of some lack of understanding of the full meaning of an Akan, which includes being a Fanti. Then the second example, she's a Christian because she receives Holy Communion. No, she's not a Christian because she does not speak in tongues. Now, this argument arises because of some confusion about what being a Christian means. So the meaning of Christianity is not clear. That is why you see this disagreement. So we call it verbal disagreement. Disagreements that arise because of shortage of accuracy in meaning are verbal disagreements. Now you can contrast them to what we call real disagreements or real dispute. Now a real dispute is a substantive disagreement about facts or values. So real disputes are also called substantive disputes or substantive disagreements. They are disagreements over facts or values. Now let's look at disagreements over facts. Let's assume that two Chinese in China are discussing Africa, and then one of them says Accra is the capital of Ghana. The other person says no, Kumasi is the capital of Ghana. And then, so these two Chinese in a faraway country are debating what is the capital of Ghana. So it is a factual disagreement. One of them doesn't have the correct facts. The disagreement is resolved by verifying the facts. Then the second example is a disagreement over values, a value disagreement. Now let's assume that in 1950 or 1955, Kwame Nkrumah and some other members of the Big Six were negotiating with the British about granting independence to Ghana. And then a discussion comes up about which town should be the capital of Ghana. Someone says Accra should be the capital of Ghana. Someone else says, no, Accra should not be the capital of Ghana. So this is a disagreement about people's preferences. Now remember that people prefer values. People prefer things they value more to those they value less. So preferences are also values, So this is a value disagreement. So disagreements about facts or about values are what we know as the real or substantive disagreements. Now, for a brief exercise, determine which of the following disagreements, determine whether the following disagreement is verbal or real. Sandra says that man is quite old, he died at 50. Comfort says you call that old, he died young. So is this a verbal or a real disagreement? Sylvester? Yeah, your reason? Okay, so Shiru.
Hello, sir. Yeah, my reason is. Hello, sir.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Please, it's a verbal disagreement.
Okay, so Shiru Kantang. Shiru.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening.
Hello, sir.
Increase the volume,
Sir,
raise the volume of your microphone.
I think it's a real dispute.
Yeah, your reasoning.
Because the age 50 is a fact that when someone reach that age, we consider the person to be of old age than being too young. That's my opinion.
Yeah,
Did you get me, sir?
Yeah, but
hello.
Is there an age that is old age?
Actually, in Ghana, when you are between the age of 50 and above, they consider you to be like an old person. But between from 20 to 30, they consider you to be a young person.
Yeah, but these two people are in the same society and they are not in agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and okay, so Tete Solomon.
Okay, sir, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
So I think it's a verbal it's a verbal dispute because the two ladies are confused
Tata, your line is breaking.
about the word age, old age, and young age.
Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, so yeah, I see your point. That's fine. So Jocelyn,
Sir, please, it's a verbal dispute because they are all talking about the same old age. They know the man.
uh, okay, that's fine. So Emmanuel,
I think it's a verbal dispute because
oh Emmanuel, we can't hear you very well. Emmanuel, your network is not strong.
the person is an old man or not, and which is the age.
Okay, that's fine. So let me make a few comments and then we round up the exercise. So the matter of old age, I mean, the matter of what constitutes old age is not easy to settle. You know, in some countries, people live up to 120, 150 years. In those countries, if you are 90, you are still young. But in some countries, people don't live up to 80 years. In fact, there are countries where the life expectancy is just about 45 years, 55 years. So in such countries, if you are 40 years, you are old. So it means that determining old age is it is a case by case basis, and it's a complex affair. So many factors are involved, but there is no set meaning. There's no set definition for what constitutes old age. So you can classify it a verbal disagreement, you know, because the meaning of old age is not very clear. It is not just Sandra or Comfort, but the two women are not clear about what old age, and nobody is clear about what old age means. You know, so you have to classify that as a verbal disagreement, and that's how you investigate before you know whether a disagreement is verbal or real. If a disagreement exists because of issues that have to do with the meaning of something, then it's verbal. But if all the meanings are clear, nobody is confused about the meaning of anything, but it's just a conflict of facts or a conflict in people's value, then it's a real disagreement. You know? Okay. So that's it. I think that this class was a very short class because we didn't have much to do. The next class will be a bit longer. For next week, I'll send you the same link I sent you before, which you use for this class, but I'm going to modify the link to give us 2 classes a week. You know, so I'll send that very soon. Now, is there any question about what we did so that we round up? Joycelyn, are you raising your hand because you want to ask a question, or is it the hand you raised before?
Right, the hand I raised before, but I want some clarification on this. I learned on Thursday we'll be having lectures.
Yeah, so any class, if we have class on Saturday, we'll have to add Thursdays to it.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Sylvester.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, please, I wanted to ask that when you are giving this type of question in an exam, and you have to clarify whether it's a verbal disagreement or a real a real disagreement. Are you to state that it's a verbal disagreement or a real disagreement and explain them, or
No, you can be asked to determine whether
If it
the
was
compliment of is
fair.
verbal or real.
Okay,
This
sir.
example, fair.
Yeah,
Thank you,
so
sir.
I wish all of you happy weekend, and we'll meet again next week.
Okay.
All right, so bye-bye to all of you. Ending the class right now.
Yeah, bye bye, bye bye. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
All right,
Thank you
that's
very
all.
much.